Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the PlotCast. I'm your host, Nate Slater.
And I'm Chris Sandbrook, and today we're going to be checking that nostalgia box and talking about demo discs. So, those of you that remember the 90s, fresh in our memories, demo discs, it was something before digital downloads, instant updates, um, time before the web was just absolutely covered in previews and trailers. This is how we got our knowledge of the next big game.
Yes, and for some of you, maybe your first demo disc came with your system. I mean, I know when I got my PlayStation back in '97, it came with like a summer sampler or something like that, and like the games are still fresh in my head, and I still remember playing Star Wars Masters of Terrascasi with it. With that, I also got the game for Christmas at the same time when I got the system. So it was like I didn't never had to play the demo because I had the game, but it came with Armored Core, it came with Crash 2, Intelligence Cube, which I really liked. I played that a lot. And then
Yeah, it led you to play games you otherwise never would have.
yep, and
Yeah, I
Parappa the
I
Rapper.
remember Parappa the Rapper. I don't think I ever would have bought Parappa the Rapper, but I definitely remember playing it. Punch,
Yes.
kick, it's all in the mind.
I mean, it's moments like those that make you look back and be like, "Man, I miss demo discs." They might not have games that you would have purchased, but they had some of the demos that you'd be like, that part was fun. I'll at least play that demo again. I won't buy the full game, but I'll get that. I'll play that. It's
Yeah.
free."
The official PlayStation magazine, OPM or Opium, as some of us like to call it. Um, yeah, every month it would come out with a fresh new bonus demo disc, and you'll be looking forward to seeing, hey, what's coming out? What big game should I be expecting? And I remember specifically going through each of them. I would hit the ones that were big at the time. You got, oh, Crash Bandicoot, another one's coming out. Sweet, let's check that out. But then there'll be other things on there that you otherwise would never really think about. That's how I got into a lot of sports racing games. Especially back then, there was a big emphasis on things like snowboarding, snowmobiling, just anything that would make you go fast down a hill and would play to some kind of rock track. That was really big.
Oh, even Twisted Metal. Twisted Metal was on some demo discs too back in the
Yeah,
day.
I think that's how I initially learned about it. I remember one of the big ones that I got. I grew up in Britain, so I had the official UK PlayStation magazine. Um, and I believe I had a lot of like British game developed, uh, you know, games developed in Britain that popped up. Um, and I remember specifically always opening that fresh new demo disc, putting it in, and just scrolling through the list of what you got and like prioritizing what I wanted to play first.
Now, for the most part, we are talking about PlayStation demo discs. Now we do know like Nintendo might have had some. I think they did for the GameCube. I know Xbox
Yeah.
definitely did. I don't know if they did for anything after the first Xbox. My guess is that they might have. But PlayStation was like the pioneer in, using laser discs and stuff like that aside from, PCs. But the CD was PlayStation's territory, and at that point in
They
time,
definitely popularized it,
yeah.
especially going forward. I mean, you still had demo discs in the PS2 era, even the PS3 era, even though it was getting very slim at that point. I think
Yeah.
the majority of demo discs that I got, like I remember getting the God of War 3 demo, just the idea of putting in the game, expecting just to play the game, and then bam, oh look, there's a demo disc attached to this. Hell yeah.
And that,
And God of War at that?
I mean, we'll talk about that, kind of or kind of, what would you call it, phenomenon here in a few minutes. I want to talk about, because we're going to shift this into a
Right.
game here in a few minutes, but we want to we're on the nostalgia train right now, so I don't want to jump too far ahead.
PS1 obviously is where it really started. Was there a specific demo disc that you remember treasuring?
Well, okay, that's what I was gonna ask you. Well, I have 3 or maybe 4 demo discs that come to mind when it comes to, the fact that I love the games that came with them. And the first one was obviously the one I brought up originally, which was the one that came with my PlayStation that had Armored Core, Parappa the Rappa, Star Wars Masters, Intelligent Cube, Crash 2, and no, for the most part, I played those to death. And then, you get bored of them, but still, that was like my first fond memory of a demo disc. Now, if we want to go into some others, ones that really kind of, I guess, tickled my fancy, if you want to say that. I remember I had one that came with, there was this old anime back in the day. It was called Robotech, and they
Yeah.
had one that came out, and I forget the name of the game. They came out with a demo for it, and if you don't know what Robotech is, basically it's like a mech game or a mech show where jets turn into giant robots and giant aliens attack Earth. And I've always wanted to play a game version of that. So when I saw the demo for that, I played the crap out of it, so much so that it got scratched to heck. And I had to throw it away. But long story short, that was that was one of my fondest memories because it's like I could actually play what I've watched forever ago. So the one demo disc that I also have fond memories of was one that
Was for
came with,
PS2.
no, not even
No?
that. No, was actually for PS1. And I mean, I know what you're gonna talk about, but this was, and this might have a few games on it that I played, but this one specifically came with Metal Gear Solid 1. And it wasn't Metal Gear Solid 1 as in like, the English version, it was the Japanese version of the game. So I was able to play Metal Gear Solid 1, but the Japanese version, I still remember in my head what they said in Japanese. And then I think maybe months later, I got another PlayStation demo disc that came with it again, but this time it was in English. So it was like, oh, this person said this. That's what that translates to. Now I know what, you can figure out what they're saying. But it was the same demo. Nothing was different except the language. So that was one of those memories there. Another demo disc, um, which I can't really. The other one I forgot, so we'll just skip that. We'll go on to what you have, and if it comes back to me, I will bring it up. But like the Metal Gear Solid part just got in my head after I talked about Robotech. So
Okay, so when I got my PlayStation, the demo that it came with was for Point Blank, which was a shooting game.
okay,
Much like Duck Hunt in the style of game that um, it was still very fun. It was more comical and had a lot more to do, but I'll always remember that because I never thought I needed to buy the game. There was enough content to keep me busy on that demo disc, and I didn't feel like the game itself was going to push past. And I'm sure it did, because the game itself had a sequel. So it must have done well enough to garner a sequel. But I never purchased those games. I just played the demos over and over. Um, and I remember the PS2 demo discs more. I remember Smuggler's Run as a demo, and I did end up getting that game. Looking back, the game was kind of boring.
boring.
Yeah,
See,
well, you got to do most of what was available in that game in the demo disc. There,
okay,
there wasn't too much beyond that. Although you could use the cheat codes, because that was a big thing back then. And you could turn on um, no gravity, so you'd hit a car and it would just go flying into space and stuff like that. But I think the cheats are what made the game worth buying, or over just playing the demo over and over again. Uh, but yeah, there weren't too many demo discs that you would just play that small portion and feel satisfied and not having to go get the game. So when you got one, you were like, "Ooh, wow." The big one obviously was for Metal Gear 2
Yeah, for
because
you.
it gave you such a huge chunk of the game and
Well,
it was so interactive.
didn't it give you like the first half of or the prologue of the whole game?
Yeah. The prologue of the game, which is huge. It was the whole tanker mission as Snake. I remember it leads you all the way up to and allowing you to beat Olga Glukovich on the top, and you defeat her, and that's where it ended.
Okay, yeah.
Um,
So that yeah, it was the prologue. I do
yeah,
remember that.
obviously it cuts off all of those scenes that happen afterwards, that lead to Snake's disappearance.
Yeah, it was
Um,
very misleading.
yes, it was very misleading. I think that was kind of like the big controversy of back then, right? Is everyone was super hyped about this game. You got to play as Snake after that first game. Everyone was super excited. Everyone remembered the demo. They played through that portion of the demo, having a little extra too. That was nice. But then from that point on to the rest of the game, you're playing as someone else. You're playing as Raiden.
So, if you guys can see where we're going with this, we're basically gonna shift into Metal Gear here. We're
Yes,
gonna
Metal Gear Delta Snake Eater has just come out. We have both been playing the crap out of it. Um, as much as people with no time can play video games anyway. And yeah, it's tickling that nostalgia funny bone. We've been playing it and we were talking about how we really got into Metal Gear was through kind of the demo discs.
Yep.
And that's what led to today's episode. And demo discs is it's still something that we kind of treasure in our memory. There's a nostalgia behind it because it drew us deeper into playing video games. Video games have been a huge part of my life. While I don't define myself by video games, especially not anymore, um, it has definitely been a huge chunk of my childhood. And
Mhm.
I don't know about you, but those demo discs opened the door to just so much more for me. Games that genres I didn't know really existed, genres that I didn't think I'd be interested in.
Uh,
And then eventually just garnishing so much interest from me, I end up buying into those games.
Same here. And we are gonna shift to Metal Gear here in a minute, but before we do, I want to ask you, Chris, is there any other, because I started thinking about other demo discs I played. Is there any other fond memories you can remember, any games you remember from any of the demo discs?
If I remember correctly, there was Final Fantasy IX demo disc that I played. It was very limited, and I did love how when I got the game, that I saw how much was limited. I was like, "Oh, wow." So the game in the demo disc was still vast enough to make me want to buy it. And then there was so much more. So I do remember playing that, and at the time, things like stepping into water and having a ripple effect was a big deal.
Yeah.
Um,
And you're like, oh my God.
yeah, oh, look, there's a ripple when I step in that puddle. Ooh. Um, things that we take for granted now. Because, the polygons back in the PlayStation 1 era were very limiting. Um, yeah, I mean, there's not too many that I can remember specifics on. I just remember that I was attached to them and it led me, especially a lot of fighting games. I'm not the fighting game type, but because of them, it led me into my love for Tekken. Um,
Yep.
I can't say I had any demo discs for Street Fighter, but of course, arcades definitely filled that for me.
Yeah. That's kind of like where the fighting game originated anyway. Arcades were built for, sucking your quarters away, and you can't really do that. I mean, they'd probably make a lot of money if they put an RPG on that, which I mean, they kind of did with
Time
Gauntlet.
Crisis.
Well, that's not really an RPG, but like the
It
Gauntlet
is though.
games,
I
that's
mean,
a
in the
shooter.
sense that it's a shooter, yes, but it's long, and you go through all these chapters, and sometimes you can go one way or another, and it
No,
it it enticed you to keep going back.
I mean, you do kinda have a point there. So I actually thought about it because it came to me when you were talking. W Some other games that I played on demo discs, I don't specifically remember any other games that were on the demo disc, but I remember there was, like, this fighting game. Like, it wasn't like a fighting game, like, how you think about a 2D, it was like a 3D run around, beat 'em up kinda game. I think it was Fighting Force maybe or something like that?
Yes,
You're like a big
sounds
muscular dude
very familiar.
and, like,
Yeah.
3 other people you could choose from, and you just go around, you'll, like, pick up a bat and hit people or something like that. I remember playing that, I used to get frustrated with that, but that was another one that popped in my head. 2 other big demos that popped into my head that really got me into games, and I'll start with, the one that isn't as big for me, and that is there was a demo disc, I can't remember what game it came with because I think it actually came with a game. It was called Guys, and it was basically had Final Fantasy
Yes.
VII characters. It was like a action adventure RPG, but it had some Final Fantasy VII characters, and it kind of played like Tekken, not Tekken Arcade, but Tekken. There's like a mode in Tekken where you could go around the streets and fight people. It was kind of like that a little bit, but more free roam, and you'd still fight bosses. So I remember that demo disc. I wish I knew what that game came with. But the one aside from Metal Gear that was like the biggest, kind of influence into getting into games. There was a demo disc. I think it was a Squaresoft demo disc. I don't know what game it came with. Maybe it came with one of the Final Fantasies. I don't know. But it was a demo for Xenogears. And basically, you play the whole beginning of the game up until when the town of, I think it's Lahan, gets attacked, and you get in the gear, and then you fight off every, the attacking gears, and then it ends, and I think it shows like a cutscene. And that game, we need that game. I need a remaster on that game right away. We don't need a remake. Just make a remaster. I mean, you can get it on the PlayStation Store, but that game, that game needs more recognition. Forget about Xenosaga or anything that came after it. Xenogears, I need more
I
Xenogears.
enjoyed Xenosaga. I still own all 3 of those.
Yeah. But if you play Xenogears and then go to Xenosaga, it's just like I
It
get
is
it.
very different.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a spiritual successor reboot, if you will, to it, but Xenogears holds a special place in my heart, and they work their butts off. SquareSoft, Square Enix now, and that is a game that it's right here. It's right here. But yes, that's
Yes.
the end of my demo disc rant. Um, this whole setup was really to talk about Metal Gear Solid in general, but we had to go down some nostalgia lane with demo disc to get here. So,
So the
Chris,
first thing I wanna start with on Metal Gear is the raunchiness of certain scenes. So obviously replaying number 3 at the remaster Delta. You get to hold R1 to see through Snake's eyes in certain cutscenes,
hold on. Well,
and almost
technically, is this a remaster or a remake? Because it's a remaster. Is it like a remaster remake? Can it be
uh,
considered that? It's kind of
I'm not
eh,
sure,
it's like a
'cause the
50-50
the the
almost.
base gameplay is still the same,
Yeah,
and you can have it 100% the same depending on the play style you choose at the beginning.
yeah,
You can choose the legacy style or the new style. The new style is more third person, the way action games typically are today, versus the way it was with fixed camera in the original game.
yeah.
That being said, though, when you hold R1 during those cutscenes, most of the time you are either staring at Ava's butt or boobs. I hate to say it, but the majority of it is that. Um, there's a lot of raunchy dialogue and just playfulness whenever he's talking to women, especially over codec. And it's never like flirting in the way a normal person would flirt. And I'm sure a lot of it is lost in translation,
Yeah.
being that it was Japanese originally. You would think that the developers would smooth out the dialogue, you know?
Well, they do have that kind of disclaimer at the beginning because we all know that Hideo Kojima is no longer with
Konami.
Konami, and if you didn't know, surprise, where have you been? um, but yeah, they give a disclaimer at the beginning. Basically, these are based off of an older game's what would you call it? I don't know, like ideology. I don't know what you'd call it, but it's based off older way of thinking, and you know, as someone who grew up on anime, I'm not blaming the Japanese for nothing, but they seem to have a little bit more
Raunchiness to their
raunch
humor.
yeah, raunchiness, a little bit more hands off, you know, censorship. They're censored, but some things they let go, I guess you could say.
Yeah. Well, especially in the 80s and 90s.
Yeah. So I'm not saying it's right, but it's definitely it's from the times, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
I can't say it any better than that. I'm sorry. If you can say it better,
Right.
Chris, go ahead and say it. But
No, it definitely marks the times, especially when is it set? In the 60s? 70s?
it's 64, I think. So
Yeah.
yeah, I mean I will give it this. They tried to make it very James Bondish, which
Yeah,
James
especially
Bond.
with that opening.
There's always a sexy woman. There's always a you know
Well, they
suave
even
main
mention it
character.
in a Kodak conversation with, I think, when you go to save.
Paramedic.
When you go to
Yeah.
save for the second time with paramedics, she brings up James Bond. Did you see From Russia with Love? I don't watch that crap.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like
And then she's like, "Hey, don't let Major Tom," another reference there.
yeah.
Um, Major Tom hear you say that because he loves and then he cuts in and starts going all James Bond on him. So yeah, it's clear it was a huge uh not just reference, but a lot of stuff was based off of it. There's tons of references, even if they're intentional or not. It's just that type of game.
Yeah.
It fits right in.
This game is definitely a timepiece
Yes,
for the 60s and what was going on. I mean,
especially the whole spy game. I mean, that was kind of the big thing. The Cold War, that whole Russia America's teetering on nuclear destruction. Blah blah
yeah.
blah.
So it was definitely Hideo Kojima definitely took a lot of references from the 60s movies, and he's a big film buff and a big gamer too, so like I get it. You know, he was trying to make a statement of what he grew up on and what he loved, so he put that in the game. That's what we do. We like something, when we want to express it. If we're a filmmaker or a creator, we're gonna put that into our art, I guess you could say.
Yeah, there's a lot of homage for sure.
Yes.
And yeah, no, he obviously he's done a great job in creating video games. I mean, there's always some kind of groundbreaking element to each of his games. The first Metal Gear Solid specifically, because yes, there were two Metal Gear games beforehand, but they were very typical. And I think that was more of him making games because he loved them, but using what was available. Once he had developed kind of uh, a standing for releasing those games, generated some income for the company, they were like, "Hey, go wild. Give us a game everyone will want to play."
And then by
And
the end of it, they're like, "We don't want you no more.
yeah, no, I
You're
don't
taking
even
too
think it
long."
was that. Yeah, it was the taking too long. He always wanted to create a masterpiece every single time.
And they just
And
wanted to create money.
yeah, exactly. Hideo Kojima to me is like the entire company of Rockstar. You know,
Yeah.
He puts a ton of time and effort into developing a thing, but the difference is Hideo Kojima is a single person.
Yep.
Rockstar is many different people who have developed many different games all coming together to, make a masterpiece, but it's always going to be a long amount of time to release a single game. And once
Yeah.
it's released, it will do exceptionally well. Um, and there'll be controversy again with both. Um, but it will never be enough for people to go, nah, I'll never play those games again. No,
Yeah. I
it's
mean, it's just me. I haven't played any of the Death Stranding games just because it didn't look like my cup of tea. I might eventually get around to it now that we've had this whole conversation. It
yes.
just I
I think okay. So for a lot of people, they couldn't get past the beginning of the first Death Stranding, which is yes, a lot of walking. But the whole idea behind it, and there's a lot that people don't understand. It's not just I'm carrying packages to another area and that's that. The terrain changes based on how you play and how other people play.
okay.
Other people that are currently playing around the same area at the same time, you are now linked. If they leave a ladder somewhere, it's going to be there in your game
Oh,
and
I
you
didn't
can
know that.
use that ladder. Yeah,
That's cool.
uh, right, exactly. So there's a lot that's gets developed as you play. Um, the bad guys, if you will, in this game are kind of like ghosts. I don't want to get too into it because
Yeah.
there's a whole meta side to this that goes extremely in depth as Hideo Kojima is known to do. But if you just say ghosts for a moment, there are these ghosts that appear that you have to use that little baby that you have attached to you
Yeah.
to detect and to avoid. There's no real beating them. Now, when you come across other people, um, they may just be passing, they may be trying to rob you. If you kill them and you leave their bodies there, their body, each dead body becomes a ticking time bomb, literally. And
Okay.
it will blow up like a nuke
Oh,
if you leave it long enough. That will change the terrain. And when you come back, those ghosts will be gathered to that location.
okay.
So now you have a choice when either kill someone or don't kill them is the first choice. The second choice is if you kill that someone, you now have to stop what you are there doing, pick up that body, take it to an incinerator, and destroy the body before it blows.
Interesting. Now, I wanna ask questions, but I don't wanna ask questions because we'll get way off topic.
Yeah.
This will
Well,
well,
again,
this
it's about defining gaming, right? And that's what he does. Hideo Kojima is known for, hey, here's something that may seem very simple. And that's what he did. He started very simple. Hey, take these boxes over here across this very vast, beautiful terrain, which he is known to do. And a lot of people got stuck on that, saying, hey, I'm not playing a game about walking.
yeah. What's
And
this,
that's
Lord of the Rings?
right. Everyone kind of dubbed it that. But there is so much to it. You just have to get further into the game to really enjoy it. It's a slow release. He didn't do that with the Metal Gear games. The Metal
Okay.
Gear games, you knew what it was. You were
Yeah.
going in, starting a mission, and while yes, there is a slow release of information on the bad guys usually, so you can get some big twists mid to end game, and that's fine, but that's pretty standard. Him going off on his own is about him redefining how games should be played.
Yeah. Which is great because he he is I can't say the king, but he is, okay, yeah, he is the king of modern storytelling in video games, we'll say that.
Yeah. And while he does not hold the rights to Metal Gear as a game, he does hold the movie rights. And he has been actively looking into development of a Metal Gear movie. And no, I know there's been rumors of Jack Black. playing Solid Snake. That is not true. He has not been considered for that role.
Yeah.
But until we get definites, the last update that I saw on it was in 2024. Just basically him and some studios moving forward on some things. But until we get real definites, it's not really something worth talking about.
I mean, I remember they were talking about having Oscar Isaacs play Solid Snake. I'm totally for
That
that.
yeah,
I
that
think
is
he'd do a good
part of
job.
the actual discussions. They were talking about Oscar Isaac actually playing Snake. Again, which Snake it's going to be, I don't know. We don't know where they're going to start, whether it's going to be Naked Snake / Big Boss, or if it's going to be Solid Snake.
And well, we're not just gonna talk about, I mean, we haven't not just talked about Metal Gear, but another thing I want to say, I don't know the other games that he's made other than Metal Gear,
Zone of Enders.
PT, Zone of Enders, and Death Stranding. I think he's made something else, but I was gonna say another thing which you mentioned, which you I had to throw in there, but I was gonna save it for last. But the Zone of the Enders, another lost franchise of his. He made two
Yes.
games, which is funny because if you had Zone of the Enders 1 or 2, I can't remember which one, it came with the demo disc for Metal Gear Solid 2.
Yes. Yes.
And
Um, One thing I did like about the Zone of the Enders in Metal Gear is you can usually find references to Zone of the Enders, whether it be a box to hide in or a
model.
model of one of the robots. Because you know him, he loves giant robots. That's
Yes.
his thing. Um, and he does not disappoint. He
No.
has a certain style to his robots. They always have to be sleek, sexy,
Yes.
speedy, no matter how big and bulky they are. I think the Shadowhog is the worst of all of them, but it makes sense for the time that it
Yeah.
was set to be created. So yeah, no, it's he definitely has a genre that he prefers.
Yeah.
And if he can get a giant mech in there, you're gonna have a giant mech.
The thing that kind of sucks about Zone of the Enders is that the first one was decent. The second one was, he switched it from like a 3D animation kind of thing to the second one was more anime, which was amazing because it had the anime cutscenes. It had a good soundtrack,
Yeah.
and then he had plans to do a third one. When he was working on Metal Gear 5, he was still talking about it, and then plans. Obviously that didn't happen because he's no longer with
Yeah.
Konami. So I think that was scrapped.
Tempers escalated. Yeah,
Yeah. So
unfortunately.
we will not
It
get an end to
Yeah,
Zone
I
of the
mean, I don't think we will ever know 100% on what went on during that fallout. Um, but from what it seems like, it was a toss between time and money.
Yeah.
Arguments about the state. I mean, we already know that Metal Gear 5 was released in a unfinished state.
They released a prologue just to hold
Yes.
people over a year and a half, I think. And even then, the actual game was not even finished.
Yeah. It would be nice if they at least developed what was left because there were scenes that were discovered in the game that you could not access without just breaking the game and finding it. Scenes with Liquid Snake, a younger Liquid. Um, and yeah, so it would be nice if, since we're getting these re releases, these remakes, remasters, whatever they be, that they at the very least do an update for number 5 so we can actually complete the entire game.
I have not played 5. I've only played the prologue, and to me, I was just kind of like, at the time I downloaded the prologue or I paid for it, I played it like twice, and I was just like, I don't want to play the prologue until the actual game comes out. And then when I heard all the controversy about the game, I decided not to play it, period. I was like, why am I going to play a game that I'm not going to be
That is
happy
a
with?
shame. No,
Nah,
well, the game was really good. Um Actually there are many aspects to the game again that were groundbreaking that were changing the way games were played on such a big level. Uh, I mean, when you break it down, there are a lot of games like it, but not in the scale.
Yeah.
Because when you break it down, you could be like, hey, well, you just go on these missions, and as you do missions, your home base gets bigger. You can expand on a lot more things. You can do a whole lot more things, unlock a whole lot more things. Um, but it's bigger than that because you're not just going in and doing missions, you're going into giant areas doing a ton of different things. You can ignore the main mission until you just want to leave. You use the main mission as a way to leave an area. You're just going there using the Voltron extractor to steal as much crap as you want, so you can sell it or whatever. They're just ways to farm items, money, so that you can improve your base. Um, which, when you're on that base, you get a very Metal Gear to the Shell vibe.
Yeah. I mean, I've
Um,
seen like snippets and stuff like that throughout the years, but I don't know. I think the fact that everything that went down with, Konami and Hideo, it just was enough to make me not care about it. And even though I do want to play the game, but like you were kind of alluding to, I would like to play the finished version of the game and not the finished version of the game where they came out with like that weird battle royal or whatever it was kind of ending or alternate time ending with like this other Metal Gear game that they made up or whatever.
Oh, Metal Gear Survive. Oh, that was so bad. I
And I was
actually did recently go back to it while waiting for Delta. I was like, hey, I only played a little bit of it. Maybe it gets a little better. And I started playing it going, oh no. Yeah, why did I waste my time? Why did I waste my money? Knowing it wasn't Hideo Kojima that made it. Um, and it's basically Metal Gear Zombies. It's dumb. It doesn't fit. It's more corny than what he would come up with, which is insane because he comes up with some corny shit.
he does, but he does it in a way that you can kind of get past it.
Sometimes it gets very cringeworthy, and you just have to literally grin and bear it. And
Especially
once
with
you're
the
past
new
it,
like the new Metal Gear game, remake, remaster, whatever, Delta, it has some cringy moments. It did not hold up. I mean, I guess it for
okay.
that
How
time it
about
holds
that
up.
that first time that you see Ocelot and he's doing all that uh, gunplay, and you're like, seriously, he could have been shot and killed by now.
I mean, there was that, but the other fact is like you're seeing him do it. You're like, why are you trying to act like you're like all cool, like a cowboy spinning the thing? You don't even have revolvers. Like I get it because, some people say he's already always known how to do it or he's a master. I'm not gonna get into it. It was based off this YouTube video I watched earlier, but anyway, like if you going off of what you're seeing, you're like, why are you doing stuff that shouldn't be done with what you're using? It makes no sense. And then his gun
Yeah.
jams and you know, Hideo Kojima has a thing for flair, and if it seems kind of cool to him, he's all for it, which I
But he
get.
doesn't just do the kind of cool. He does the kind of cool to the extreme. Push
Yes.
it as far as it can go. Just stretch the bounds of reality doing it.
I mean, I will say like some things that at first thinking about it kind of cringy. You go through the game and you see like naughty magazines you can pick up and put on the ground, or you see these, model posters and stuff like that. And at first you're like, really? But then you think about it like these are men. Let's be honest. And this is in the 60s. You had pinup calendars and stuff like
Yeah.
that all over the
Yeah.
place. People are out to war. They don't can't be with who they love or whatever. So, a picture is all they got. So if they want to flaunt it, they will. So I yes, it works when you really think about it.
Was it number two that if you got into a locker that had a picture of a model, when you zoom in on it,
I think you could
you would hear
kiss
a
it.
kissing noise?
Yeah, yeah. That was that. You are not wrong. Oh boy, Hideo, Hideo. We love you,
But
Hideo.
yeah. Um, Hideo Kojima is known for using everything available, though. He's like, hey, if there is, like in the first game with Psycho Mantis using your memory cards to go through your memory, or, just using any aspect that he can that goes outside of the game, using the back of the case to get Meryl's code. Baker's the one that tells you it's on the back of the disc,
Yeah.
but he also gives you an optical disc as an item.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I remember trying to figure that out. I'm like, how am I supposed to look at the back of this optical disc item that you just gave me?
The thing that's funny about that too is that they must have told rental stores to put the actual back of the original case on the thing that you're renting, because if you rented it, there's no way you're gonna know. You're gonna go and be like, I can't beat this game. I want my money back.
There's
The he
there's another thing that's kind of disappeared. You don't rent games anymore.
exactly. I mean, technically, that's not true. If you have PlayStation Plus or Xbox Pass or
Yeah.
whatever, you're paying a membership, so essentially you're renting it. And even technically, if you buy games nowadays off online, you are technically renting it. All right, that
Yeah,
enough
there
of
is
that.
no
Let's get back.
ownership anymore.
Yeah,
Yeah.
let's get back to the show. I'm sorry for ruining your day, folks. Uh,
Oh yeah,
oh
just
yeah,
just
yeah,
Hideo Kojima and how he likes to go beyond just the traditional layout of a game. He likes to break the fourth wall. He likes to just, toy with things. I mean, there was that nonstop, like especially in number 4 with Johnny having to use the bathroom, and you're like, "Holy crap, is he the guy from the first game?"
Guess what? He is.
Yeah.
Well,
But
the
just
thing.
the constant need to use the bathroom, and that was because he wasn't using the nano machines that he was supposed to be getting, and then that, in turn, at the end of the game, is what leads them to a victory.
And the thing I will say about Hideo Kojima is, realistically, he's not a game maker. He is a filmmaker. He's first and foremost in my mind. He's a filmmaker,
Yeah.
and it
Yeah,
just
he
so
does.
happens he got
Yeah.
into programming and stuff like that, and he writing for games, and that's because what he grew up on. I guess the only way he figured he could get to do what he want was in video games and maybe not in the film, because maybe in Japan their film industry isn't like ours, which I would suspect it's not, because as far as I know, the United States film industry is, I think, only second to, I think, India,
Yeah.
Bollywood.
Bollywood, yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, I could see why maybe he didn't have faith in the Japanese film industry, but in my opinion, he's come a long way. Get this man to make a freaking movie. Have him come to Hollywood. I don't care. It could all be in Japanese. I'll go see it day one.
He probably wouldn't, though. He is a fan of using whatever country it is using that language. So it depends on whatever movie he's making, where it is based.
Which is
Uh,
surprising too, because him being a Japanese man, you would think he'd be more into his own nationality and want to, or not national. Well, yeah, I guess that's it. His
I
own
mean, he
nation
is
and
to certain extents. Like if you follow him on Twitter, he's constantly posting about the movies he's seen, and he gives a review of his own, very short but concise review. And he does watch a lot of Japanese movies. Japanese obviously are very big in horror movies.
yeah,
We got The Grudge that we remade, and The Ring that we remade, and stuff like that. Obviously, we can't just go and watch a Japanese movie. People don't like subtitles,
yeah.
but
Sorry.
we will remake it, and not usually not for the better.
Yeah,
At least things get lost in translation, as we
yeah,
kind of talked earlier. Um, but yeah, he posts reviews on stuff like that. I know that he um, he's been a fan of quite a lot of English uh, movies. English in the sense that language, not England.
yeah.
But yeah, no, I remember seeing him talk. He will post his thing and then tag, Mark Hamill when he watched Star Wars and stuff like that. And then these celebrities will reach back out because it's Hideo Kojima, and for some reason everyone knows him. And they'll
Yeah,
chat in the comments. It's so cool. I mean, obviously he's a friend now of Norman Reedus,
yeah,
who, while he's doing these video games with Hideo Kojima, he's also, he's got his show. He does a movie every once in a while. I mean, he's got his tie, I guess, to the American film industry through Norman Reedus.
yeah. And I think he always had it for at least since like Metal Gear 2. He's kind of had some ties because the main theme song for Metal Gear Solid 2 was the same theme song for the movie The Rock with Sean Connery and Nicolas
Right.
Cage, I believe. I think that was it. And it was like that game was so good. Aside from the twist that you couldn't play a snake after the tanker part, or yeah, the tanker part, which I was very bummed about. But you
I
know,
do find it funny, though, that everyone hated Raiden.
Raiden.
Um, and then the third game comes out, obviously it's pre-Raiden, but you get to wear his face
It's
as
so
as a
weird.
disguise. Um, and then by the fourth game, uh, they're like, "Yeah, you don't have to worry. You're not going to be playing as Raiden." And then they show him, and you're like, "I want to play as him.
And then
He's
they're
a
like,
badass cyborg ninja now."
"Oh, now you can because we came out with another game." I never played that game. I played the
Yeah.
demo. I was
Well,
like,
yeah,
"I'll
he
play it," and
he
I
didn't
didn't.
do that though. It was a separate studio. I mean,
Yeah,
obviously he allowed it. But yeah, again, it was a different style of game too. It was a straight up action game.
yeah, because Metal Gear Solid is, uh, tactical espionage action. I think
Yeah.
the one for the other one was, like, tactical something, 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 something. Kinda
Yeah.
they kept the subtitle but changed it a little bit. But, yeah, I never played that one even though I played the demo, funny enough, demos. Um, but it wasn't enough to make me wanna play because I was tied more to Snake, you know? And
Yeah.
the another game that kinda did that whole bait and switch thing, going a little off topic with, other games doing bait and switches, like, in Metal Gear Solid 2, you start a Snake, and then you're riding, you had no clue that was gonna happen. And Devil May Cry 4, you're thinking you're gonna play as Dante, and instead you're playing as Nero, and Dante's kinda like the bad guy, and then the best part about that, though, is halfway through the game, you could play as Dante. So it
Yeah.
would have been nice if, Hideo would have let you play more as Snake.
Especially at the end, since you team up with Snake at the end,
Yeah,
I felt like it was leading to you switching over to Snake the first time I played it, and you
yeah.
just didn't.
But the thing that was cool about Metal Gear Solid 2 is all the references, Snake's character later on when you meet him as Raiden, he calls himself Plissken, which if you're a fan of, Kurt Russell, he played Snake Plissken in, Escape from New York and Escape from LA, and he had an eye
Yeah.
patch too, which is kinda funny, so you're like, "Oh, wow, this is awesome."
Well, they've been known to steal things. If you look at the
Yeah,
cover art for Metal Gear, it is Terminator with Kyle
yeah.
Reese.
Michael Biehn,
Yeah, yeah, he's always kind of, he doesn't see it as stealing. He sees it as homage.
homage, which,
Um,
funny enough, Michael Biehn was also in The Rock. He played a Navy
yes,
SEAL.
yes, he was. He was also in Aliens, which you have yet to see. Watch
Yes,
it.
I will. I will eventually. I need to get on that, but, if it wasn't for that demo disc, I would have never played Metal Gear 1, and like I said, I played it in Japanese first, and I was like, "Oh, this is great." And then, I got the other demo disc from PlayStation Magazine later on because it's funny, PlayStation Magazine has changed its name. It was either PlayStation Magazine and then changed to OPM, official PlayStation Magazine later, or reverse. I remember it was one and then they changed the name.
I think it's still official PlayStation Magazine, so I think OPM came second then.
Okay, yeah, because I remember it was just PlayStation Magazine, and
I'm
then they
pretty sure it's just like online now. I don't think it's an official
yeah,
magazine anymore.
because and the thing that was cool is, like, the the demo disc made you feel cool 'cause you felt like you're a part of something. It's like, "This is part of the PlayStation underground." You're like, "Ooh, I got the intel," you know? And one of the last things I think I ever got from PlayStation, like, underground or whatever, was I got this special letter or something for Uncharted 1 or 2? or maybe it was Uncharted 3. It was from PlayStation. I forget what it came with, but I still have it somewhere. It was a nice little letter from them or whatever. So I just kind of miss those days. It made you feel like you were a part of a community. Now it's just kind of everything's all digital. Like, yes, you can download demos of games now, but it's not the same. And games are so big now that you can't just you just can't download a whole disc worth of games and try them out. You have a game is just so big. It's one game that will take up your whole system just for the demo.
Yeah, yeah, that's kind of become a problem is space. If you could stream demos, that would be awesome.
I still
But
think it would
they've kind of put streaming behind a paywall, which is
yeah,
annoying.
I still think it'd be cool if they did the demo discs. I mean, even PlayStation 4 did have demo discs. I think they had a demo disc for VR originally when VR first came out. I think they had a demo disc for that, but since then that's that. And I guess you could even say that VR games were smaller in size because you can only play them for X amount of time before you lose your mind. So I can see why they made a demo disc for that. But in general, a lot of the games that opened up the doors for me to want to play video games came from me playing demo discs. And, you know, the game that actually, I'm going to say it again, that got me more into the demo that got me more into a gaming universe is the Metal Gear demo. Because ever since then, I've been playing Metal Gear since they all came out, except for, the PSP games and Metal Gear 5. You know, I even the VR game. I remember Metal Gear VR, the first one of that, which is worth a lot of money now, I'm sure if you have it. And then I don't know. Like I played all the Metal Gear games except for like I said the PSP games and 5. I don't know if the PSP games really do much in as far as furthering the story of Big Boss, but when I saw them like Metal Gear Acid and Portable Ops, they look like puzzle games or like board
Yeah,
games or something.
strategy games, yeah.
And I was just like, no. If it was just like Metal Gear, like one thing that I think, as
Well,
far
the
as
closest they had to that was Peace Walker, which was remastered, I believe, for one of their collections
okay,
that they released. Um, and yes, Peace Walker was good, and it did have additional story and lore and how uh, Big Boss kind of, continued his saga, his legacy, met certain key players, and how they interacted through certain scenarios. Um, and it kind of also led directly into Metal Gear Solid 5.
okay. Like I will say one thing about the Metal Gear Solid series, it's so convoluted. Like
It
if you're
is
not paying attention,
extremely
even for
convoluted.
me, like I said, I haven't played 5 or the PSP games, but even for me, like when I was playing Metal Gear Solid 2, they're just saying things. I'm like, what does that mean? Lale Lule Lo. like
Oh my
like
god, yeah.
they're like the sons of the patriots, and it's just like I get it. Some of them are supposed to be like shadow societies and stuff like that, so you're not supposed to know, but I feel like they should have like put them more in layman's terms to where it's easier to decipher the story, especially if you're,
It didn't help that some of these secret societies and such had some dumb freaking names.
yeah. And the thing is, when I played these games, I think Metal Gear Solid came out in 98 or 99. I was a kid. Like I know these
Yeah.
were kind of meant for, you know, younger adults, which I think I was 14 at the time. I don't know. I can't remember that far back. I'm going to be 40 next month. So who knows? I got a bad memory, but uh like when I was a kid I'm like, "Wait, what?" I'd have to play that. I guess that's why it had a lot of replayability cuz I had to go back and replay the game to try and understand it.
Yeah, and I feel like it was convoluted even before that.
Yeah.
There was Yeah, there's a lot that I think still technically doesn't make much sense, especially with new stuff that they added later on through the other games. Kind of led certain scenarios to be obsolete. Um, but yeah, it's I mean, he's known for his over the top, trying to get super deep kind of storytelling, and sometimes, he'll forget about a thing or two and then overwrite it with something else.
Well, I mean,
Uh
he is only human. You know, you can't keep tabs on everything, which he did a great job. I mean,
sure, yeah.
which I feel like maybe because as far as I know, and probably you know, Delta is the only remake they could be working on. I mean, I hope that they're doing all of them. When I say all of them, I mean all of them. Like, I would
Yeah.
love to play the original Metal Gear games because I've never played them, never played the Nintendo games at all. Okay, yeah, those are more games that I haven't played. There we go. I forgot about those completely. But I never played Metal Gear and Metal Gear 2, so it would be nice to play those just like how they kind of went with the Resident Evil games. They kind of remade them to fit more or less like the RE4 PS2 game mixed with classic Resident Evil. Like I would like to see Metal Gear and Metal Gear 2 Snake's Revenge redone in a way to where maybe it's a mix of Metal Gear Solid 1 and, this remaster of Metal Gear Solid 3 out I
Look,
think.
you are talking about things that cost money and take time.
And
Do
Konami
you
has
really?
none of that.
Yeah,
Let's
cannot. They definitely don't have the time because that's what they were pushing Hideo Kojima
Yeah,
on.
exactly.
So unless they were actively working on it while they were doing this one, there may be slim chance to get it. Um,
But
they're
is that something
also
you would like though?
Oh, I would, yeah,
Do
absolutely,
you?
and I'm
Okay.
sure they're using this to see, hey, how are sales going to be? If sales are dramatic, I mean, it's not like they have to pay Hideo again for all the stories and stuff that they're reusing.
Yeah, because
Um,
they do say at the beginning of the game, based off of the original work of Hideo Kojima, which tells me that this is not a one-to-one remake of or a remaster of the original game because based off of the original, this obviously
yeah,
isn't the original, so what did they tweak?
yeah, I'm sure whatever it is very, uh, uh, it's not significant for sure.
Yeah.
Because a lot of it feels very one to one, especially in the
Yeah.
dialogue. Um, I don't
Except
think it's
they did update some things. If I don't know if you noticed with the first, actually, I think you did. With the first call you have with paramedic, she talks about
yeah.
Godzilla and how big Godzilla gets in 2024. So that was new.
Yeah, they do go on to make references to things that didn't exist at the time Hideo made that game.
Yeah.
Yes.
Which is
Um,
funny because, even though it seems like the relationship has soured, they still are keeping the spirit. At least as far as this remake
well,
remaster
I think
goes.
it's because it's for the fans. Let's face it, Konami wants to make money,
Yeah.
and they're not gonna be making money if they remaster something and take out all the best things.
Yeah, and
Um,
I'm pretty sure they do know the fans have a sour taste in their mouth after the whole thing, and then, he left, and then PT didn't go anywhere, which that was amazing.
yeah, I mean, I hate to say it, but Resident Evil, their, one big, uh, would you say rival in that sense? Because Resident Evil and
Silent Hill?
Silent Hill back in the day, they were kind of the top of the horror games of their time. And they were competing for that number one spot. Now, obviously, Resident Evil wins just because they kind of stopped making those games.
Yeah.
But then it's so ironic that he comes out with PT, and then when you beat it, it says Silent Hills, more coming soon. Shows Norman Reedus as who you were playing with the whole time. And you're like, hey, okay, I see where this is going. And then their argument or fallout happens. It all gets scrapped. And then after all of that, everyone's like, "Oh, well, I guess we're not gonna see anything close to that," and then Resident Evil 7 comes out, and it's almost exactly
Yeah.
like that.
But they did go on record. Resident Evil 7 was in production a little bit before Silent Hills was. So
Maybe so. That
it's
may
just
be
one of
so.
those it was just one of those things where one guy on one side of the world has an idea at the same time somebody else does.
I don't think so. I think there's more to the corporate espionage. There's also the fact that, like, for instance, when making a movie, have you noticed, like, oh, there's going to be, Disney's doing a Cinderella
Yeah.
movie, and then suddenly there are four more Cinderella movies that
Yeah.
come out at the same time. It has to do with, like, this, for that specifically, it has to do with the Screenwriters Guild. The script is put out there. Everyone kind of sees the script, at least those who have access to it, the big companies, because they, are choosing whether or not to buy the script, right?
Yeah.
They say maybe no, we're not going to, and they eventually go with, get someone on a sale, and they're like, oh, hey, that big company chose to take that script that we denied. Let's make one of our own.
But Silent Hills was always Konami's and Resident Evil was always
Right. No, I
yeah.
understand that, but I feel like there are a lot of people. I mean, think about how game leaks occur, right?
Yeah.
But there's also a lot of people, developers specifically, that will bounce around between studios. People become friends, people talk, things get here and there. And I feel like it might have been one of those things where someone mentioned what they were working on, and someone else was like, hey, I guess I'll steal that, or maybe we'll compete and do it better, or, whatever the case may be. Also, just because they said they were in production beforehand doesn't mean anything. Like, for instance, Borderlands, the first Borderlands game,
Yeah.
literally, I think it was like the last, like, they had completed the game and it looked in the style of, like, Call of Duty, and they didn't want it to be another Call of Duty and just fail because it's not the Call of Duty. So they
Yeah.
changed it to cell shading right at the end. The entire aesthetics of the entire game was made after the game was completed. So again, that could have been the same
But I
thing.
know it would have been funny if Hideo Kojima already knew it was gonna happen and he's like, "Hey, Capcom, I'm working on this.
Yeah.
You need to do
Yeah.
something like this." That would have been funny if he was like the informant kind of thing.
Exactly. I mean, there are so
Tactical
many
video
ways.
game espionage action.
Yeah, there's so many ways these things could have occurred. Nothing is coincidence, especially not in a big industry like that.
Well, which is funny because I had a conversation like this before with my one friend. She was like arguing with me about Resident Evil and Tomb Raider. She's like, "No, Tomb Raider came out first, so they copied this." But actually, Resident Evil came out 6 months before Tomb Raider did. So you can't really say who copied who. It just so happened they kind of are similar, even though they're not
Well,
at
yeah,
all.
it also just means that one was completed and released first. It
Yeah.
doesn't mean that they weren't, you know, because back in the day, especially, there were game testers, physical people who played a completed portion of the game
Yep.
to see if it's right. And they used the same people. It wasn't uncommon for these game testers to go, hey, that's exactly like this. Or, hey, this would be better if you tried this instead. And then was basically describing another game they played.
And the thing is too, Tomb Raider and Resident Evil play completely different. So I don't really know what her argument was other than maybe it was just she thought Tomb Raider was better than Resident Evil, which I didn't like how Tomb Raider
Maybe
played, so
it
it wasn't for
was,
me.
yeah, I know. Especially now. Obviously, Tomb Raider has evolved.
Yeah.
Um,
The Tomb Raider
and
now plays more like Uncharted, which I was happy with. That trilogy of games that Square Enix kind of worked on that they no longer have rights to or whatever, those were good. It sucks that they won't make any more, but I enjoyed them. That was the first Tomb
yeah,
Raider series I could say you got my stamp of approval.
yes, yeah, I did enjoy the games, although I liked the first and most of the second one. Didn't fully enjoy the whole thing, but when they released that movie
Oh
around the same
God.
time, that movie was so bad, and it was stealing portions of all the movies and joining them together in a
I mean,
way
all the
that just
games.
didn't work. Yeah, all the games
Yeah,
together
the
into
Alicia Vikander one.
yeah.
You know she's married to Michael Fassbender, right?
Yes, yes, I do.
Yeah.
Also the bad guy was Walt Goggin.
Oh, I love that guy.
Yeah, well, Fallout Season 2 is coming
Coming
soon.
soon. Don't worry, we will review it. So we'll be here for you as long as you're
Yeah,
here for us. And even if you're not, we're gonna do it anyway.
yeah, exactly.
We're rebels.
Um, yeah, well, again, great game series. I mean,
I've never
here's
played
the
him.
thing. Well, you don't have to. I mean, they are dated at this point, and the most recent in the franchise has not been um, kind to players. I mean, I know they have updated it since its release, but that initial release was abysmal. Um, but that being said, there are a lot of games that eventually do get translated to movies in a very positive way. I know that movie studios have been treating video games like they're nothing and just do whatever. The worst case in recent years, I feel like, was the Uncharted movie. That was absolute horse crap.
I missed that one, thank God.
Yeah. It was nice that when they did The Last of Us, at least the first season, they were a whole lot more true to not just the story, but the general vibe, and getting the characters right was kind of a big deal. I know that there was a lot of controversy when that show first dropped about race swapping, but you're going to have that controversy
You
everywhere
know,
whenever it's done.
I feel an episode of the PlotCast coming based off of video games. We're gonna be doing that very soon. Thanks to Chris's little brainstorming here. He's making
Yeah,
it happen
video games to movies
from
or
games to
shows.
screen. Games to
Okay.
screen. There we go. That will be the
Well,
title. So we don't know when we're gonna do that, but it is now in the works. You heard it here, folks. It's coming.
all
But
right. So yeah, do you have anything else to spit out on Hideo Kojima or Metal Gear?
what I do want to say about Hideo Kojima, what is there not to say? He's a great guy. He's a swell guy. Konami, you fucked up.
Yeah, remember in Ground Zero? I'm not sure if you actually played Ground Zeroes, but
Mm,
you would rescue him.
no, I didn't.
Yeah, there was a mission that you rescued him, and when you finally get him on board the helicopter, he goes, "I kept you waiting, huh?" It's like, oh god, here we go.
So, yeah, we are getting to the end, so I want to say a few things. One, Snake Eater Delta. So far, I'm having a blast playing it. Nostalgia to the max. Kind of help bring up this whole topic of demo discs and nostalgia going into Metal Gear and other games. And we'll probably talk about some of these other games at another point in time that we've mentioned today that we've played on demo discs and whatnot. But Metal Gear, as far as this episode is concerned, it was the main topic. And I do miss demo discs. I wish we had them back. In fact, when we're done with this, I'm gonna go buy a demo disc off of eBay. Why not? You know, gonna save it. That's the other thing, memory cards. We used to have memory cards, which also ties into Metal Gear because if you had the memory card in the other slot.
Yeah.
But yes, so Hideo Kojima, thank you for all the fond memories. I'm really glad that Delta is living up to the hype. I do hope they probably won't, but I hope they remake all of them. Like I said, every single Metal Gear game. I know it's going to be harder to do Metal Gear and Metal Gear 2, of course, Peace Walker and Acid, to where they can all be one cohesive gameplay experience. But
Well, I feel like they can do Peace Walker because they already have remastered it. It's been part of the collection that was previously released
I mean,
on PS4.
if anything, because I haven't played it, if they can make a definitive edition of 5, if they do that and they add what they didn't put in to make it more cohesive, I will definitely buy that because I've never played it. You know, like I said, I was just bummed about the whole Kojima thing, and when I heard it, the ending did not live up to expectations. That's obviously because he wasn't there to help put his creative input at the end, and or maybe he was there for the end of it, he just didn't care at that point. So I do hope, at least out of anything out of this whole remake series, if they make it a remake series, they do the fans right by finishing 5. So at least I can play the game because I won't play it otherwise. But
Isn't it annoying that I mean, it's nice that we get this as a treatment, but it's kind of annoying that the best games of the year have more recently been remakes of games we've already played, whether it
yeah,
be Final Fantasy VII, this, um, what other remakes have we been getting? The Resident Evil games,
Dead Space.
Dead Space, which again, phenomenal.
Yeah, some
But
of the
still,
remakes are warranted. I'll say this: no remakes have to be done. Uh, some remakes are warranted in the fact that they exceeded what the original game was. That's very few remakes. So
yeah.
you get one shiny turd out of 10 of them, and it's just a shame that people don't give. I'll put it this way: don't give the Resident Evil treatment to their remakes, because almost all the Resident Evil remakes that have come out have been a big
An
improvement on
overhaul.
their a
Yeah.
big improvement and overhaul on the original. Especially, I feel like Resident Evil's trying to make a more cohesive story than what it was originally. So I
Yeah.
really like the fact that they're taking the time to, you know, make the story more less discombobulated.
Yeah, I
So
do like that they recently remastered Soul Reaver, and I feel like they're trying to raise money to continue that series because that was a series I loved back in the day.
see, for me, that was not one that I got into. The only one I ever played, I think, was Legacy Kane 2 for the original Xbox, and even then, I only played it because I had nothing else. But it was a good game. But I don't know. Maybe it was something how the characters looked. It just didn't appeal to me.
Well, they could always change that,
That's
update it.
true. That's true.
Yeah, because they had the Blood Omen games, the Soul Reaver games, and then Defiance, which brought them together, which is what everyone was kind of waiting for. And then it was leading up to something big and just didn't continue.
Disappeared. Oh, one last demo, which I completely forgot, and we'll wrap this up. Another demo that I played that was on a demo disc the most was Duke Nukem Time to Kill, which was a third-person Duke Nukem game for PlayStation. So that was one I played a lot, and that was definitely not for like a 13, 14-year-old. Or maybe it
Yeah,
was. Maybe it
I
was.
had the Apocalypse game with Bruce Willis as a demo, which I ended up buying the game. Um, it's awful when you look at it today, especially considering how young I was. And it was very much a cash grab, um, kind of playing off of his success with the Fifth Element. Um, yeah, yeah, there are a lot of like you go back and look at some of the PlayStation 1 games and we're like, wow, they made that. They
Yeah,
made
I
that.
mean I mean, back then people weren't afraid to express themselves, and that's kind of what I do feel like, within reason, a lot of media is missing nowadays. Not saying to go way overboard, but you know, Hideo Kojima had a vision, and he expressed it through video games, and he put a lot of time and detail and other people's money, and I'm sure his own.
Yeah.
And I mean, he's doing it now with Kojima Productions. He's putting his money where his mouth is, and PlayStation's. So he he's a man of passion, and it shows through his work. And I will say, Konami did do a great overhaul with Delta and keeping to his source material. And at least they did that. They're not doing anything else for him, but at least they did that for him and the fans, more or less the fans, because they want our money. So, I
Yes.
mean, I don't have much more I want to say, because if I do, I might go on a rant and we might be here for a long time. So, is there anything else you want to say?
I just want to say one thing. Who is or what is your favorite boss fight out of the entire series of Metal Gear?
Favorite boss fight, first ninja fight. That
First
was
ninja
my
fight.
favorite.
That is up
The
there.
original Metal Gear, just because he was so badass. This guy comes out of you walk through that hall, everybody's murdered, cut up, and then you go into the room. Hal's hiding, he's pissing himself. Friggin' Ninja comes out of being cloaked with a stealth camo. You're like, what the fuck? And it was just like, yo, this guy means business. And then, through the game,
Yeah,
you find out they're old friends. And I was just like, yo. And the original voice, I'm kind of glad I never played Twin Snakes because I did see other people play it, and I was not a fan of the new Ninja's voice. Sorry to the actor. The original guy just sounded so
Gray
rugged.
Fox.
Gray
Yeah.
Fox. It was just so amazing. Freaking.
So that was my pick. So instead of telling you my pick,
I'm
I'm going to
sorry.
give honorable mentions. So most inventive boss fight will have to be the end for Metal Gear 3 because of
Okay.
how many different ways you can beat him. For those that aren't aware, you can shoot him right after a cutscene, almost a good 20, 30 minutes before you usually fight him. You can also, in the original PS2 version anyway, when you go to fight him, save, change the date on your console, come back, and he will have died of old age.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then, of course, you can sneak up behind him.
You can also put in the Konami code and in the original game and find out where he is. You can in the new game though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's so many little fun little ways to beat him, and he is, if you play him head on the normal way, especially in the harder difficulties, he is very formidable. Another honorable mention for the funniest boss fight, Fat Man in number 2.
Oh yeah,
Just a
laugh
fat man on
and
rollerblades.
laugh and grow fat. I'm like,
Yeah.
what? Okay.
It's
I
just that is so memorable. I mean, there
yes.
is no way you will ever forget that. Fat Man rolling around on rollerblades on the helicopter pad on the top of one of the shells, um, and he's throwing bombs at you. He's setting bombs everywhere, and you have to just work your way around and beat him up.
Yeah, I will say, other aside from the original Ninja, my second favorite kind of boss character is Vamp. I really liked him. I thought he was badass.
Yeah.
I thought he was really cool too. Like
Oh, I didn't care for him at all, but I do
I
like
liked
Phil
him.
Lamar, who voiced him, so I'll give
Like
him a
I
pass.
thought he was awesome, and he came back in 4. You're like, wait, what?
Yep.
So like
He
that
was
was a
also
surprise.
in Revengeance, I believe, too.
Revengeance. Oh, what? He still
Metal
was
Gear
okay.
Revengeance. Yep.
Wow, I didn't know that because I never played that game. But I played the demo. I said that. Back to demos again, folks. But yeah, I really liked Vamp. He was annoying, but actually, I will say overall villain was Ocelot. Like,
Oh,
yeah,
well, it's gotta be.
there was Liquid. Like Liquid was cool in the first game, but yo, Ocelot was the man. Friggin' Shalashaska. Friggin' with the
Yeah.
revolvers and everything. Like,
Yeah.
yes, granted, the third one, he's a young brash kid, whatever. But Metal Gear 1 and 2 and 4, Ocelot. Like, I haven't
See,
played 5, but
Ocelot got the Devil May Cry treatment.
yeah.
Because when you think about it, because still number 3, you go back and he's this crazy young kid, but you know what he turns into.
Yeah. And he is awesome. Like, and I didn't know this, but recently I found out apparently. I mean, I could be wrong. The person I watched it could be wrong, but his parents are the boss and
The
the
sorrow.
sorrow. So I think that's kind of cool. There's more. Hideo is very in depth with everything he does, and now that I've been talking about this, I might have to play Death Stranding.
It's
Ah,
worth a play, especially if you get the definitive edition. It leads you into more faster, so you're not just walking everywhere.
okay. And for those of you folks that have never played Zone of the Enders, they did make a remastered set for PS3 where it comes with both of them. I'm sure you can find it on the PlayStation Store. Check it out. It's fun. It's, probably not going to be, up to standards as far as today's gaming is concerned, but it's fun, especially if you're an anime mech fan. Check it out. And with that, I think we're about out of time. You got anything else you want to say?
I love you.
Oh, I love you too, Chris, and we love you guys out there. Um, Once again, we're Plot Hole Productions. You can check us out on Spotify, YouTube, Instagram. We're crazy. We love doing this. We've been talking for a while. So, once again, I'm your host, Nate Slater.
And I'm Chris Sambrook, and we'll catch you
In
in
the
the void.
void.